Okay, we're going to go ahead and get started. Sorry for the delay. It's that time of year when some of us have to figure out how to be in two places at once. We've got a number of speakers, a number of great people lined up to talk to us today. But before we do that, we've got a little business to take care of. We passed a bill out of subcommittee yesterday, and wanted to go ahead and try to move the senator's bill while we were meeting today. So having an amended agenda today. So Senator, if you're ready, you can go ahead and present SB 157.
Thank you so much, Mr. Chairman. Pleasure to be with you and your committee today. And I appreciate you accommodating me, but let me go ahead and knock this one out quickly. It's a simple bill, and it is addressing a problem of musical performing acts that are misappropriating or falsely or deceptively advertising that they are another recording act. And the example I used in your subcommittee is if you had a group calling themselves the Drifters or the Tams or the Temptations and presenting themselves as that original recording act when they actually have no permission of that group to be using their name. And there are none of the performing group that are members or were members of the recording group, that they're essentially misappropriating their name and taking advantage of it. It makes that an unfair business practice. So we amend the Fair Business Practices Act by adding an additional section, and that's what this bill is, the 10-1-393.16. You can tell that is the 16th different type of unfair business practice that we would now be recognizing. And it simply holds that if you are a performing group performing the music of another group and you're misleading or deceiving the public into thinking that you either have the right to be using their name and likeness and trademarks in their music, or that none of the performers are actually in any way associated with them, aren't original members. If at least one original member was in the performing group, and naturally they would have the copyrights and can do it, then this wouldn't be a false or misleading act. But if you have no people that were in the original group and you don't have the permission of the original group that was the recording act to be appropriating their name and misleading the public into thinking that's who you are, then that becomes an unfair business practice. And that has remedies. You asked me in the subcommittee, what's the Fair Business Practices Act provide for penalties if you violate it? There's three types of relief you can get. One is an injunction. You can go to court and enjoin this performing group from performing under your name and misleading the public. You can also get general damages for any money you have lost as a result of them appropriating your name and playing your music. And finally, you can ask for punitive damages from them to punish them. We call those exemplary damages if they are intentionally misleading the public to your detriment. So that's the enforcement mechanism. It is not a crime. You don't go to jail. You don't get prosecuted by a DA. It is a civil remedy under these circumstances. The other question that comes up commonly is, what about a tribute group or somebody honoring a group and making it clear, this is Joe Blow band playing music from Led Zeppelin this evening, or some, it's not really a cover band, but it is a group that is a tribute band. As long as you identify, hey, I'm not the Beatles, but we're playing music from the Beatles tonight, then that is not deceptive or false or misleading. So it doesn't prevent those type of acts that, some call those tribute type acts at all. It's just when you're acting like you're the real thing, or you have, permission of the real group and you're playing their music, acting like you are them, that it becomes an unfair business trade practice. And with that, Mr. Chairman, I'm happy to take any questions. I understand you may have some speakers lined up by Zoom. I guess you did the other day. I'm not sure if they're back today or not.
No, the time for testimony was yesterday's meeting, okay. So it's just you today.
There was a gentleman yesterday from the Recording Industry Association of America. This was a request of them. And it's essentially model legislation conforming to the laws of each state. They had Otis Redding's daughter testified and said that that's been a problem to her. I think Mary Wells, which was a famous R&B artist, that a lot of these older groups are having difficulty. Their music's being copied and hijacked, basically.
I do see a question. Are you Mike? Are you oh, you're 15? Okay, Terry Knowles, go ahead.
Thank you. Yeah, I just wanted to clarify, would a cease and desist letter not suffice? I'm not opposed to this. That's just a question that came up as I was reading through.
Well, that's interesting. You raised that. It might, and I will tell you that under the damages provisions of the Fair Business Practices Act, and that's found at OCGA Title 10-1-399, it does give a provision where if you notify, let me see if I can find exactly how it reads, at least 30 days prior to the filing of any such action, a written demand for relief, identifying the claimant and describing the unfair, deceptive act or practice relied upon and the injury suffered shall be delivered to any prospective respondent, the person being sued. So you do have to give them notice 30 days before suit, and that person that you're claiming is infringing on your work, et cetera, then may, within 30 days after receiving that demand, make a tender of settlement, and they can offer essentially to make things right and pay your damages in the case. And then later, if there's an action and the award is less than what they offered to pay you, the judge can take that into consideration in awarding damages.
And this is not, ask one more question.
Yes, sir.
This is not necessarily something that has happened in Georgia, but this is the model legislation that would hopefully prevent something like this from happening in Georgia.
No, it's been happening.
It has been happening. Okay, thank you for that clarification.
This is a way to find relief. Now, and the other thing is, you mentioned cease and desist. You may get an injunction. You can go to court and ask the court for injunctive relief to order the group to cease and desist. You use that term, from continuing the practice. And I guess probably good lawyering might be to send that letter and say, you better cease and desist or we're going to seek an injunction and damages.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Steve, is okay. Representative Saines.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Senator Kaiser, I have a quick question. It might be an industry standard. I'm not very knowledgeable in this category, but in the definition of performing group on line 14, where it defines it, instrumental act, vocal or instrumental act is what it seems like the scope of the individual who could be violating the law. And I just assumed there'd be some kind of language for for fun, that it would correlate to a commercial activity. So I don't think practically I'd be worried about it being utilized on a couple of teenagers on a social media video doing a song, on a cover song. But could you explain to me on what is that limit of that definition in terms of this utilizing it for this law?
Well, it goes on to say that they intend to advertise or appear under the name of a recording group or a name substantially similar to them. Like, you couldn't say you're the Beatles and spell it Beetles, and not be group if it's substantially similar. But it's one that's either advertising or promoting or actually appearing under the name of somebody that they don't have permission and they don't have any members that actually were members of the original group.
Well, I appreciate that, but just a sake of clarification, there is no monetary need of the performing group to be liable for under this. They don't have to be receiving funds for their performance. They don't have
to charge for their appearance.
Okay.
The name that the industry association is using for this is Truth in Music Advertising Act, and just don't mislead the public to lead them to believe you are a recording group when you really have no affiliation with them or permission to use their name.
Thank you.
Okay, that's do we have any questions online? Okay, that's all the questions I see.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
At this point. I'll recognize Chairman Chokas for a motion.
Yes, sir. Mr. Chairman, I move that LC 364631 receive the due pass designation from this committee.
Okay, so we have a motion.
Second. We have a motion.
Second.
Second.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Okay, at this point, at this time, I'll have a voice vote from the members here, and then we'll call out the members online. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, so 3. Who do we have online? Chairman Barr,
Aye.
Representative Carpenter,
Yes.
Floor Leader Bonner,
Yes.
and that's all I see. Oh, Chairman Stevens. Okay, I think Chairman Stevens is on mute. We'll come back to him. Is Chairman Nix on with us?
Yes, and I'm an aye.
Okay, thank you. With that, I think the ayes have it. So
Thank you, Mr.
the
Chairman.
bill goes to rules.
At your request, I will ask Representative now Hawkins to carry this bill.
Okay.
I think you wanted me to let you know that's who it
Okay.
is.
All right.
Thanks so much.
Very good. Thank you,
Committee
Senator.
members, appreciate your time today.
Okay. With that, we'll move into this next phase of the meeting. Last week, this committee had a really, I think it was a very enlightening. It was a great meeting. I got a lot of comments from the committee on it, and I think that there was an interest and an appetite to get even more information and hear from some other sectors and people who are in this industry, which was described by the head of the Phillips Academy as the largest growing industry in the state of Georgia. So today we've lined up another great panel of speakers, and since we were late, I'd like to know who is most time sensitive, but if you could just kind of raise your hand, just tap to raise your hand online. But for now, I'm going to recognize Van Stevenson. If you're online, we'll hear from you first. Can you unmute him?
Mr. Chairman, can you all hear me?
Can now.
Okay, great. Mr. Chairman, thank you very much, and members of the committee. I really appreciate the opportunity to be here and really talk about the most successful production industry, growing industry in the United States, right here in the state of Georgia. And obviously, this has been a very challenging. Yes.
Dan, if I could you introduce yourself and let us know who?
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, I'm Van Stevenson. I'm a Senior Vice President of Government Affairs for the Motion Picture Association. And anyway, first I wanted to thank Speaker Ralston, Chairman Stevens, as well as members of the legislature, Governor Kemp, for your collective leadership during the pandemic and the challenges that it presented, particularly to the production industry. Interestingly, and not surprisingly, Georgia was among and probably the first state where production, cast and crew, as well as all the small businesses that support the industry, went back to work. You all were very business sensitive to us, really never completely shut us down. We worked with you all. We were able to quickly negotiate with production workers safety protocols that were very acceptable to all of you. And we were able to get back to work very quickly. And it's evidenced by what's going on in Georgia right now. It's amazing to know that right now there are at least close to 60 scripted productions, mostly movies and television series, total of 90 to 95 productions that are there right now. And that includes the balance of reality TV. And interestingly enough, there's a significant amount of production right now going on outside of Atlanta, which is a major production hub. In Savannah, for example, there's a movie called Devotion, true story of a U.S. Navy fighter pilot. Also in Savannah, a movie a Will Smith movie called Emancipation from the Civil War era. In Augusta, Agent Game. This is a spy thriller that's being filmed. In Toccoa, a movie called The Mulligan. I don't have any details on what that's about, but that's filming there. In Bon Air, there's an ongoing reality television series called Critter Fixers, which I haven't seen, but I hear is very good. Fitzgerald, Georgia, a new Bruce Willis movie called Gasoline Alley just wrapped, and a new Legos movie is going on in Hiram, Georgia at the present time. So the industry is robust, it's growing. It's mainly because you have one of the most stable, predictable production tax incentive credit programs globally, and you still lead the world in terms of the number of motion pictures being produced. Even outside of California, more movies are produced in Georgia right now than anywhere else. And we appreciate the partnership. We look forward to continue to working with you, and I'm happy to answer any questions anybody might have. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you for that, Van. And when you eventually do move out here from California, hope you come and live in the 45th. It's a great place to call home. I'm going to ask if any members, I don't see any questions, but since we do have a number of speakers, I'm going to ask that all members, again, please write down their questions and we'll get them, we'll get them answered from the appropriate speaker. But Van, thank you for that. That's, it's great to hear that, that report and your perspective out there, since you have the 3,000-foot view. I appreciate it.
You're welcome, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Next we have, is Greg Lewis, are you online?
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right. You have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. I am with Lightning Production Rentals. I am the third generation of our family business. We started when my grandfather retired from the Air Force in 1975, and we did our first movie in 1979, all based here in the state of Georgia. We have done movies all across the country, including out to California, and we have an office up in New York. Since the tax credit really started in 2008, our business has effectively tripled. That has been a huge benefit to us in our business. So thank you very much for your support for that. We are currently members of the Georgia Screen Entertainment Coalition and the Georgia Studio and Infrastructure Alliance, who you'll also be hearing from other speakers today. And just would like to thank y'all for your support with that. We deal with the transportation side of the industry. We are a vendor. We supply the trucks, trailers, and generators that you may see around the city. If you see a base camp or anybody filming, they have all those pieces of equipment for the multiple departments to work out of while they're on location or at the studios. We were hit extremely hard, obviously, from the pandemic and the shutdown. We did not have any revenue or business for 6 months. During that time, we chose to maintain our employees and keep everyone paid. All of my employees maintained a full paycheck, and we were able to keep everyone until August, when we had to let 12 people go, just in order to maintain the other employees that we were able to keep. That was our commitment. Was we felt that we could sleep at night if we at least supported our people, not knowing whether or not business would come back in a timely manner in order for us to survive. Thankfully, it did. Since then, we have seen the industry bounce back in an extremely positive manner. Productions have set up COVID teams and COVID response teams to test their employees multiple times a week and maintain a safe working condition for their employees. And our trucks and trailers are a big part of that. We have probably had our 2 strongest quarters in a row now. This will be our strongest first quarter ever and our strongest quarter in the history of our company. We see that as a pent-up demand from 6 months of shutdown production across the industry. and we see that continuing at least in the near future. We were able to start back a lot sooner in Georgia than we were in our other areas. We service the entire East Coast. As I said before, we have an office in New York as well. And New York has been much slower to the plate in coming back. Georgia was the first, and it has responded quite strongly. We see that continuing in the future in large part to the credit and to what our productions have been putting in place in the state of Georgia for the COVID response. And see that going forward in the future. So thank you, Mr. Chairman and members, and appreciate your continued support.
Thank you for that. It's very exciting to hear. It's good to hear that your business has tripled in about a decade, and that you've got all your folks back to work, and the outlook looks bright, and you're breaking records. We're really happy to get that report from you. Thank you.
Thank you.
So I'm gonna try to give some of the speakers a little bit of a heads up. So next I'm gonna ask Ryan Millsaps, and then following Ryan, Rick, I see you online. You'll follow Ryan, and then after that, let's go with John Relay. So Ryan, if you're on and ready, you have the floor.
I'm here, Mr. Chairman. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Oh, good. Fantastic. Well, thanks for giving me the floor and a moment to speak. We were affected by the pandemic as well. We actually were empty at the time of the shutdown. And so we spent 6 months in emptiness. We didn't fire anybody. We kept all our team, lived through that. And then really September is when things restarted, and they restarted with a lot of strength. We're now full for the next 18 months. We're likely going to sign another lease that'll make us full for the next 24 to 30 months.
Ryan, can I interrupt you for just a second? Can you tell us, so I know you're with Blackhall. Can you give us a little bit, just a little bit of a snippet about Blackhall?
Yeah, so I'm the chairman and CEO of Blackhall Studios. Blackhall is a major production studio on the south side of town, about 15 minutes south of Inman Park, in the southwest corner of DeKalb County. We have about 300 acres. We use about 100 right now. The industry's come back very strong and kept us full. We're turning away a lot of business right now, and we're in the process of getting permitting to drop another $250 million into the ground to add 1.5 million square feet of space, which will be about 550,000 square feet of sound stages additional. So, we're planning on the industry being here for a long time. We're planning on the tax credit being in place and being able to continue to attract the greatest and biggest productions from all over the world, and continue to be a great partner to the production partners out of California that have really made a deep-rooted home here in Georgia. So we see nothing but blue sky ahead as long as we can provide stability, continuity, predictability. I think we're the #1 place to make movies in the world right now as a state. Certainly, it's a lot easier to make movies here than California, New York, a lot easier than London, much easier than Canada. And we owe a lot of that credit to Governor Kemp and Governor Kemp's willingness to keep the state open. It gave us a huge advantage when things reopened for the industry, because everybody was in a rush to get to Georgia because they could start productions and have confidence that they weren't going to get shut down like what was happening with Governor Newsom in California and some of the things that we saw in New York as well. And then just the travel restrictions, the UK and Canada have given us a huge leg up. So, where we sit right now as Georgia is we can have as much of the business as we want. And it's really just a question of what scale we'd like this industry to be at.
Okay. Well, thank you for that. Ryan, I'm going to turn my volume down a little bit. I really enjoyed the visit out to Black Hall. It's really a cool facility, and I know that everybody was scrambling, when March hit last year, and y'all handled that really well. I'm glad to hear that. I'm glad to hear y'all are turning away business, and that you are taking the appropriate steps and investment to make sure that you don't have to do that quite as often. So it's you've got a really cool story there, and thank you for your testimony today.
My pleasure. Thanks for the time.
Okay. So next we have Rick and then John, and then after that, like to hear from Mr. Mahone, and then we'll wrap up with Peter Thoppolis, and I think that's everybody. If that's not everybody, just call me and let me know. So with that, Rick, if you're online, you are a go.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Chairman and distinguished members of this committee. My name is Rick Reitz. I'm a member of the Screen Actors Guild, American Federation of Television and Radio Artists, or SAG-AFTRA, and its Atlanta Board of Directors, formerly its president. I'm a member of the Directors Guild, the Writers Guild, and I've served on the Georgia Production Partnership as either its president, a board member, or on its Government Relations Committee for over 25 years. Today, I'd like to update you on above the line Georgia labor, which includes producers, directors, writers, and of course, actors. I'm personally thrilled that more and more discussions are now focusing on the power and necessity of the creative portion of our local industry. You've heard Jeff Stepikoff of the GFA speak about their plans and progress in the development of new statewide talent, but there's a growing army of experienced producers, directors, writers, and actors that are either from here or who are moving to Georgia to enhance their lives and their careers. Now, as you all know, when the pandemic halted production about this time last March, most work stopped, except for creative teams. They wrote new stories, sought investments, trained, and planned for the time when production would return. So even during the pandemic, certain local industry numbers actually grew. Many experienced professionals, those without training wheels, came here because they felt we'd be among the first to bounce back, and they were right. Local SAG-AFTRA membership actually grew in 2020 by several hundred, even though nearly half a year left most performers in the dark. They're working again and in great increasing numbers. Producers Guild membership grew, Directors Guild membership grew, Writers Guild membership grew. And now we actually have several writers' rooms in Georgia for TV series, either developed in Georgia or shot in Georgia. And we've been pushing for that for many years. Now, pre-pandemic, these combined segments accounted for more than $100 million in annual Georgian wages. And while first quarter tabulations are not yet in, I can assure you that 2021 will exceed past numbers because there are simply more native boots on the ground. Now, with the growth of our creative segment, more homegrown projects have also begun. I can tell you that even as we speak, 2 members of the Governor's Film Advisory Commission, Stratton Leopold and Craig Miller, are producing a film in Columbus, Georgia. With the exception of a few stars, the rest of the production is 100% Georgia, young and old, new and experienced. Several of our major studios are in the process of producing original content. And these are not just a few scattered cases, as you heard Van Stevenson talk about. It's the tip of the iceberg. Now, whether it's Atlanta, Savannah, Macon, Columbus, Albany, or even Fitzgerald, Georgia, more and more locally inspired production is happening around the state, and their budgets are increasing. We are the faith-based film capital of the world, and we play host to the greatest volume of diverse production anywhere. I know Lee Thomas and other colleagues here can confirm these projects and their origins. Now, also, Mr. Chairman, at your last meeting, you briefly lamented for a moment that this committee couldn't take that much credit for what's already transpired, but I actually disagree. Many on this committee are already part of the legacy due to your support through the years, just like the governor, governors past, the lieutenant governor, the speaker, and the legislature in general. Now, perhaps even more importantly, as we move into the next phase of our development, I know this committee will put its stamp on the next generation. You've heard it before, Georgia is the fastest growing production center in the history of entertainment. In just over 12 years, we've matched or exceeded production in centers that have had a 100-year head start. No city, county, parish, province, state, or country has raced to the top faster than Georgia. And it's no mistake that our industry, our entertainment industry, is recovering from the pandemic faster than anyone else, because we've always been more nimble from policy to practice than anybody else. Georgia's a legit global entertainment player, and everybody knows it. And that's part of the intrinsic value that this industry brings back to the state. So now, as we continue to move towards greater sustainability, it's time to further grow our legacy by advocating for a new creative class. And with your continued help, I know we're going to accomplish that too. So thank you once again for your time and attention, and I'm happy to answer any questions that you have.
Thank you, Rick. You know, as always, you really you say it very well. It's very informative, and I always come away from our meetings learning something new. So thank you for your kind words, your positive report, and for all the hard work you've done through the many years here in Georgia.
Thank you very much, sir.
Okay. Next, we have John Relay, and then Peter. Oh, no, I'm sorry. We have John Relay, and then Mr. Mahone, and then Peter. Okay. So, John, if we have you online, you can go ahead.
Yeah, thank you, Chairman Dollar.
Tell us who you are and a little bit about yourself, and be sure to touch on your role with the governor's advisory.
Yeah. So thank you, Chairman Dollar and committee members. Thanks for putting me right behind Rick Wrights. I'm going to sound like a third grader giving his first book report, but we'll get through it. So I know you guys heard from our other colleagues in the business during the last hearing, and my message is no different. We're super busy. To give you a little background so you kind of know the niche and the lane I fit in this whole ecosystem, I'll take you back a few years. Raleigh Property Partners is a small boutique real estate company. We specialize in office and industrial properties. Our first entertainment-related deal was brokering Tyler Perry his first office building back in the early 2000s, and then his first soundstage, which you guys may know now as Krog Street Market. The first transaction I did post-credit was in 2008. It was a small feature for Paramount. I believe if they weren't the first, they were probably the second show to land in Georgia after the credit was produced. That was a small 3,000 square foot office lease in town, but that first little deal kind of got me a ticket to the game. Over the next course of the next several years, I figured out how shows could manage to film in industrial buildings. We didn't have any purpose-built studios in 2008 or for many years thereafter. So that's the lane I've chosen to play in for the past 12 years. We basically convert existing properties to film studios. And the reason I bring this distinction up is that the market I play in is sometimes hidden from view, but is very large. We're spread out all over the state in nondescript facilities. And like my purpose-built friends, we're all full. So today I either manage or host as a stage owner 7 motion picture studios or vendors that currently have 11 active television shows occupying 15 buildings that total 1,972,000 square feet of space. But here's what I'm most excited about. Of that almost 2 million square feet of space, 660,000 square feet of that total was transacted over the last 30 days. It's been really amazing. I haven't seen this flurry of activity like this in the 12 years since I've been doing this. So what's really great about that and what I do with these buildings is that these shows are spending money around these buildings in the communities that need this local spending. South Fulton, Douglas, South Atlanta, Rockdale County. MacGyver, for example, is in South Atlanta in a largely, disadvantaged part of town. Before the pandemic, that show was spending $4.5 million an episode. Over the course of 23 episodes, that equates to $105 million a year. According to Mike Aiken, 62% of wages are paid to crew that are working in these buildings and in these communities. So that can have a huge impact to a community that's gets to host a show like that. So I'd like to throw in a good little feel-good story, pandemic kind of related. But like Ryan said earlier, they're turning away business. And since I'm also a broker, my role is to help our production friends find space when they're turned away from established studios due to availability. Instead of saying, sorry, I can't help you, I try to go out and find that space for them. Kind of joke around the office, I call it sniffing for truffles, which is a very hard thing to do. The current state of the industrial market right now is so strong that finding suitable properties are near impossible. But to give you an example of a recent truffle I found, several weeks ago, I began thinking of industries that may be struggling during the pandemic, but also might have a large real estate footprint. I found a contact of a large trade show company. They make booths and displays for the trade show business, which we all know is pretty entirely shut down at the moment. They have a footprint of 1 million square feet and have laid off over 1,000 workers. We met with them and pitched them the idea of creating space in the building to host a major streaming show. And just last week, they inked that deal and leased the production 100,000 square feet for a year. This will help them reduce their rent exposure and hopefully keep a few more people with the company employed while they wait for the trade show industry to recover. This is the same type of story we saw during the Great Recession. Dozens of buildings that were struggling back then and vacant got backfilled by the film industry. This industry is awesome at coming in with a pile of cash and finding the people that need it. So thank you for the support. As president of Georgia Studio and Infrastructure Alliance, I can assure you that all our members are going full throttle right now. My unique view of the growth of this industry over the last 12 years has been amazing, but what's going on right now is truly mind-boggling. It's been an explosive few months. But one last point I want to make, your support for the industry is watched very closely, like Rick said. The film studios want to reciprocate on that support. So I deal with real estate decision makers, and when they're contemplating leasing a building, they weigh the risk of signing a longer term deal potentially with the stability of the credit and the risk associated there. At this moment in time, the conversations I'm having with studios are not 5 to 12 month commitments. They're talking 3 and 5 year commitments. So your continued support will ensure that the number of jobs related to the film industry is going to grow. More importantly, they're going to be here for a meaningful amount of time. So thanks for allowing me to chat with you today, and morale is very high.
Thank you, John. Your story I've always thought is a great example of, whose life was changed, due to this credit, and it's nothing that you probably would have ever contemplated. And just it's been amazing. Hopefully it stays that way, or otherwise I'm going to jump on a boxcar on this train behind me, you see, and ride the rails for the rest of my life. Well, that was a pretty good third grader's book report. All right, I appreciate it. It's a great story, and it's very exciting to hear what's happening as we speak. So thanks, John. Thank you. Okay, next, Mr. Mahone, are you on?
Yes, I'm on.
Okay, if you could tell us who you are and a little bit about what you do, and you have the floor.
Thank you, Chairman, and thank you, committee members. Also, thank you to the Georgia Studio and Infrastructure Alliance, which I'm a member of as an infrastructure member. My name is Lishers Mahone, and I work for Enterprise Rent-A-Car, but I also oversee the entertainment division for Enterprise. Most people know Enterprise as the big company. You might rent a car to go for a trip or have to put your car in the shop. But there was a need that I saw for an entertainment division because of the tax credit that was so graciously put into place by Georgia and this committee and so many others, really heavy in 2008 that gave me the opportunity to speak to you now. So thank you for that. As far as what we do, we're a one-stop shop. We do operations, sales, as well as accounting under one roof. We think it's very important to give the entertainment industry a one place, one shop, total transportation infrastructure place that they can call. That way they don't have to call LA and New York, which was the way things used to happen in the past. But we said that it was a need here in Atlanta to do something a little different. What we do is we also service the film, TV, streaming, commercials, music, theater, and gaming industry. What that looks like with a rental car company is that if you ever sat and watched the credits, and they're pretty long, and most people sit now for that because they have these nice little Easter eggs that we all like to watch and say, hey, what's next? What's gonna make me watch something else or watch the second series of this trilogy if it may? We provide cars for about 70% of those vehicles. Sometimes we have cars that are actually in the production. Sometimes we're moving people from point A to point B in a 15-passenger van. But it's given us an opportunity to really be able to be a player in this market with a need that's necessary. Because of that need, we've been able to employ at our peak 25 employees, all Georgians, and have 4 locations where we worked out of. It gave us the opportunity to share a relationship with a lot of studios, people that have spoken now, and to get to know some folks that are here, which were grown and bred in Georgia, that I've seen start off as a PA, which is just a production assistant, and now are supervisors and some UPMs. How I got started was really simple and easy. Productions would come in and say, hey, I needed a car. I needed it to look like black on black Tahoe, and it had to have all the features in the world because it might have been for an actor. Being able to find out exactly what they need and provide that made me a player and someone that they wanted to use because of their business changes so frequently, you had to keep up with the business. One of the things that always I would remember, and it was something that I have to be honest, I actually got cussed out this day, I'll be honest, because we were just learning the business and we wanted to run it just like a normal business. However, we found out from a Georgian that was a UPM that, hey, anything you do wrong affects us as Georgians. And we want to make sure that when people come here to do movies, they know that they've been in the best place in the world. And that changed my whole atmosphere. I wasn't even into it yet at that point, but it gave me a tool to know that, hey, Georgians are here. They were tired of having to travel so much to go do a movie. And this was the first opportunity in 2008 to actually see that happen for them to be here. And it continued on. Like most people, we did have some challenges due to COVID. Like I said, we had 25 people and multiple locations. We did have to furlough quite a few. When the dust settled, it was only 2 people, but we always knew in the back of our minds that we were coming back. And thanks to Georgia for keeping those doors open, which I think is a great tool and one of our founding values too as well, because we always keep our doors open as one of our founding values for Enterprise. And then we also listen to our customers and see what they want to be able to provide a great value and a great product. And that's all, again, due to the Georgia tax credit. We were able to open our doors back up, and we were able to get up to 900 plus cars back on rent. When it was when COVID started, we were at 50, but now we're at 900 plus, and the sky's the limit. We can't get enough drivers in to supply the responses and the requests that we're getting. And I think this will be our best year ever. So I just wanted to thank you guys all for all you do. Thank you, Chairman. Thank you for the committee for allowing us to be here. Again, this position was created because of the needs that were here in Georgia and because of the Georgia tax credit. And I truly appreciate you all personally for allowing me to be able to do what I do every day.
Thank you. Just another really cool story. I'm glad that that there are a lot of Georgians out there with a similar story to yours. You know, with the success you've seen, you know, as a result of the credit, and also thank you for your comments. You know, we've heard several speakers echo their appreciation to Governor Kemp and other state leaders who really went out and on a limb to make sure that we safely reopened before everybody else, just to get people back to work. Leadership is sometimes doing a difficult thing during a difficult time, and I want to join you in tipping my hat to those that helped make that possible and keep Georgia on top. So thank you for that. Okay. Peter Thoppolis, I think you are gonna close us out. If you are online, if you could tell us who you are, and you have the floor.
Thank you, Chairman Dollar, and thanks to the committee for allowing me to back clean up today. So real quick, I'm Peter Thoppolis. I'm head of governmental affairs for Georgia Production Partnership, which is the original entertainment coalition which worked with Georgia's political leadership to create Georgia's current entertainment incentive, which drove our success in the entertainment industry over the last 10 years. In addition to being chair of governmental affairs for GPP, I'm head of the entertainment practice at an accounting firm called Bennett Thrasher, where we have a bunch of accountants working on entertainment industry clients. I'm also a partner with the law firm of Taylor English Duma, where we have a bunch of attorneys working on entertainment issues. And finally, I'm a co-founder of a small television development company here in Georgia called Picture It Productions. I got my start in the entertainment industry right around 2008. I was an economic development incentives lawyer working with a lot of companies in town. And when we passed this credit, I got a call from a West Coast movie studio, said they needed some help on the ground, and boom, all of a sudden I was 100% working in the entertainment industry and supporting my family that way. I want to say a couple things about GPP. GPP, in addition to being the original organization, Entertainment Coalition, we're a grassroots organization. GPP is the little guys. It is people, it is small businesses, it is people that live in Georgia, and it is things like CPAs, attorney, caterers, makeup artists. It's the folks that live in Georgia and make their living off this industry. The goal of GPP in creating this credit was to create a sustainable local entertainment industry, and that is exactly what has happened. That vision has really been borne out. You know, you've heard testimony from a bunch of bigger businesses than we have that you know, infrastructure has taken off in the state. Ancillary vendors to the industry have taken off in the state. Our membership is doing extremely well. Like the rest of the industry, our membership was extremely hurt by the shutdown and helped by the early restart. And so our members are back to work, busier than ever, and I'm doing very well. One other thing I wanted to highlight is GPP is co-sponsoring an academic white paper with Georgia State University and CMII, the Creative Media Industries Institute, and GSEC, the Georgia Screen Entertainment Coalition. And that's going to come out in a month or two. And that's going to highlight some probably less well understood aspects of our entertainment industry. And I just wanted to mention a couple of those here. One is the incredible diversity of Georgia's entertainment industry. We probably have more women and people of color working in this industry than almost any other place in the country. And you know, without any incentives or any you know, fiscal stimulus, it's just kind of naturally happened. Two, it's going to focus on the geographic dispersal of this industry. The fact that we've got shows filming all over Georgia. It's not just Atlanta, Savannah, Columbus. And finally, it's going to focus on the incredible diversification of our industry in terms of you have this confluence of not only film and television, but you've got Georgia becoming a digital gaming hub, a digital, esports hub. We're becoming a place where VFX companies are setting up shop, post-production companies are setting up shop. And finally, it's going to highlight some of the human capital flows that are happening. This industry is attracting people to Georgia, including young people and students. As just an example, CMII went from 0 students 2 years ago to over 1,000 students. Georgia, the University of Georgia now has a Master's of Fine Arts degree, which I understand is already fully enrolled. So, you have thousands and thousands of students that are coming to Georgia's universities because they want to get into this industry. And like I said, it's not just film and TV, it's our music industry, our animation, our industry, our esports industry. So, and these are all just feeding off each other because at the end of the day, they all live on a screen and kind of cross-pollinate with each other. So I just wanted to end on the same note as everybody else and thank Georgia's political leadership in this committee for what you've done and the sustainability of this program. And I too look forward to our continuing success and growth.
Thank you, Peter. That's, again, it's been really exciting to hear what's happened in the last few months and bigger picture, what all has happened since 2008. And again, another example of somebody's life who you just didn't see it coming and it completely changed as a result of this. So thank you for your testimony. So that's all the speakers we have today. I think we will have a couple of questions, so I'll be reaching out to many on the panel. And with that, again, I just want to thank everybody for their patience today. We were a little late getting started. We're just reaching that time in the session. And I want to thank the members who, everybody here probably had somewhere else they probably could have been, if not needed to be. But this is a very important part of our life here now in Georgia. And I think that that's been recognized by the creation of this committee and everybody's hard work. So I want to thank the members for being a part of this as well. And with that, we will stand adjourned. Thank you.